Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of The Mormon Atheist. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. Um, with this video, you're going to really want to stay to the end because we're going to kind of start out a little bit soft and kind of progressively work our way to a little more hard-hitting stuff. This might be a video that you are going to want to rewind and watch a couple of times to fully understand what I'm saying here. My previous video was the 12 million man Jaredite army. So this is a continuation of a little small series here that we're doing on the Book of Ether. So today's topic, what we're going to be talking about is the voyage to the promised land. Okay. We're going to talk about how they crossed the sea, what all that entailed. And if you do not have your Book of Mormon handy, I strongly recommend reading the Book of Mormon and follow along with me on these series, okay? So let's get right into it. So we're going to start out in the Book of Ether, chapter 1, verse 6. Okay. Chapter 1, verse 6 in the Book of Ether. And on this wise, I do give the account that he wrote this record was Ether, and he was a descendant of Coriantor. Okay, now the reason I bring this up is because I was born and raised LDS. Okay, I went to church most of my life, even though I haven't been there in quite many years. I still am very much involved in it because just, how can you not be involved in it when you live in a place where it's 90% predominantly Mormon, right? So anyways, I never knew that Ether was a man. I always thought Ether was a woman, okay, my entire life, up until I actually read the Book of Mormon and read that passage. I always thought Ether was a woman. I had no idea. So anyways, that has nothing to do with the discussion. I just thought that was interesting because my own personal thoughts. All right. Anyways, let's dive into the actual discussion here. What we're actually talking about. So we're going to start out in chapter 2. Okay. Chapter 2, the Book of Ether, verse 13. Let's hit it. And now I proceed with my records, for behold, it came to pass that the Lord did bring Jared and his brethren forth, even to that great sea which divideth the land. And they came to the sea, they pitched their tents, and they called the name of the place Marian Kumar. And they dwelt in tents upon the seashore for the space of 4 years. Okay, so Marian Kumar, Moriancumer. Okay, that's where they lived for 4 years before they crossed the sea to the promised land. Okay, so this is somewhere in Israel, Saudi Arabia. We have no idea. If you read the Book of Ether in its entirety in context, it gives little clues as to where they're at, but they never, like it. This place is, close your eyes and do one of those things and you might find it. Nobody knows. The church doesn't know. Nobody knows. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's go down to verse 16 and 17. Chapter 2, Book of Ether, 16 and 17. And the Lord said, go to work and build after the manner of barges, okay? After the manner of barges, which ye have hitherto built. And it came to pass that the brother of Jared did go to work, and also his brethren, and built barges after the manner which they had built according to the instructions of the Lord. And they were small, They were small, and they were light upon the water, even like unto the lightness of a fowl upon the water. Okay? I want you guys to pay very close attention to the wording in this, okay? And this is why I say you might have to read it a few times to grasp, okay? Let's go to 17. And they were built after the manner that they were exceedingly tight, even that they would hold water like unto a dish. And the bottoms thereof was tight like unto a dish, and the sides thereof were tight like unto a dish, and the ends thereof were peaked, and the top thereof was tight like unto a dish. And the length thereof was the length of a tree, and the door thereof, when it was shut, was tight like unto a dish. Okay? I'm not really sure what the dish reference is for. I guess dishes are tight. I don't know. So anyways, let's keep going. This is going to be important here in a little while. Context is key here, okay? Okay, so let's hit chapter 2, 24 and 25 in the Book of Ether. Or, I'm sorry, in the Book of Ether, chapter 2, verse 24 and 25. For behold, ye shall be as a whale in the midst of the sea, for the mountain waves shall dash upon you. Nevertheless, I will bring you up again out of the depths of the sea, for those winds have gone forth out of my mouth, and also the rains and the floods I have sent forth. Okay, did you catch that? Okay. Let's read it again. For behold, ye shall be as a whale in the midst of the sea. For the mountain waves shall be upon you. Nevertheless, I will bring you up again out of the depths of the sea. Okay, so they're underwater, and they're going to be brought up out of the depths of the sea. Okay, the winds have gone forth out of my mouth, and the rains and the floods I have sent forth. 25. And behold, I prepare you against these things, for ye cannot cross the great deep, save I prepare you against the waves of the sea, and the winds which have gone forth, and the floods which shall come. Therefore, what will ye that I should prepare you for? And ye may have light when you are swallowed up in the depths of the sea. There's light in the depths of the sea, right? Okay, guys, let's keep going. Chapter 3, okay, verse 1. And it came to pass that the brother of Jared, okay, this is really important. Now the number of the vessels which had been prepared was 8. They went forth unto the mount, which they called the Mount of Shalem, because of its exceeding height, and did molten out of the rock 16 small stones, and they were white and clear, even as transparent glass. And he did carry them into his hands upon the top of the mount, and he cried up unto the Lord, saying, let's go to verse 4. Okay. Verse 4. And I know, O Lord, that long hast all the power, and can do whatsoever thou wilt for the benefit of man. Therefore, touch these stones, O Lord, with thy finger, and prepare them, that they may shine forth in the darkness, and they shall shine forth unto us in the vessel which we have prepared, that we may have light while we shall cross the sea. Okay, now they got some light. Okay, we're doing good. Okay, we're crossing the sea, we got some light, everything's tight like a ship, we're underwater, and we got light. Okay, so you know what? Let's hit chapter 6, everybody. So we're gonna go over to chapter 6, okay, and we're gonna read verse 2. Okay, and it came to pass that the Lord had prepared the stones which the brother of Jared had carried up onto the mount. The brother of Jared came down out of the mount, and he did put forth the stones into the vessels which were prepared, one in the end thereof, right? And behold, they did give light unto the vessels. Okay, so now they put stones in each end of the vessel. Okay, let's keep reading. Number 4. And it came to pass that when they prepared the manner of flood, and therefore they might be submits in the water, they might be underneath the water. Okay, and also, oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let's start over with that one. Verse 4. And it came to pass that when they had prepared all manner of food, that thereby they might submit upon the water. Okay, so they eat on the water. Okay, they have food for them on the water, and also food for their flocks and herds, and whatsoever beast or animals or fowl that they should carry with them. And it came to pass that when they had done all of these things, they got aboard of their vessels or barges, and sent forth into the sea, commandeth themselves unto the Lord their God. Okay, so what they're saying right here is there's 8 vessels, the shape of a tree, tight like a dish, with their own food and water, the people's food and water, plus the flocks and the herds, whatsoever beast and animals that you should carry with you. And you got the food for the flocks and the beasts. You got to feed them, right? Noah had this same issue, right? What do they do with the dung? Where do you put animals that eat other animals? How do you separate them? This kind of thing. It's just not big enough. And it literally says it's the shape of a tree. So, fantastic claims require fantastic evidence, apostate congregation, and you guys know that. All right, let's keep going. Verse 7 and 8. And it came to pass that when they were buried in the depths of the sea, there was no water that could hurt them, their vessels being tight like unto a dish, and also they were tight like unto the ark of Noah. Didn't we just talk about Noah? Therefore, when they were encompassed about by many waters, they did cry unto the Lord, and he did bring them forth again upon the top of the waters. Apostate congregation, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about a submarine? Is that what's going on? Let's keep going. Verse 12. Verse 8. Chapter 6, Book of Ether, verse 8. And it came to pass that the wind did never cease to blow towards the promised land while they were upon the waters, and thus they were driven forth before the wind. Okay, so they're being thrusted up on the waters again, right? So they're in the depths. They got light. They got 2 stones, one on each end, right? And they're coming back. It's tight like a dish. Okay, all right. Let's go to verse 10. And thus they were driven forth, and no monster of the sea could break them, neither whale that could mar them, and they did have light continually, whether it was above the water or under the water. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we're talking about a submarine here. Okay, all right, guys, let's go to verse 12. And they did land upon the shore of the promised land. Okay, now they're there. And when they had set their feet upon the shores of the promised land, they bowed themselves down upon the face of the land, and did humble themselves before the Lord, and did shed tears of joy before the Lord because of the multitude of the tender mercies over them. Okay, so this is where we land. We're landing on the sea, okay? Or we're landing in the promised land, okay? Let's go to chapter 6, verse 14 through 16. Okay. Chapter 6, 14 through 16. And Jared had 4 sons. They were called Jacom and Gilga. Kind of sounds like Gilgamesh, right? And Maha and Oraha. And the brother of Jared also begat sons and daughters. And the friends of Jared, okay, and his brothers were in number about 22 souls. And they also begat sons and daughters before they came to the promised land. And therefore they began to be many. Okay, that's important. Do the math here, guys. This is before they left to the promised land. Okay, in verse 16, it literally says, before they came to the promised land. Okay, do the math, people. Apostate congregation, I know that you understand what I'm talking about here. Okay, we're in a submarine the size of a tree. Okay, with fowl and herds, food and water, women and children, and you can do the math here. They begat sons and daughters, so you have women and children, okay? And the only number that it gives is 24. His friends, okay? And the friends of Jared and his brother were in number about 24 souls. So the friends of Jared and his brother, plus Jared, plus their wives, plus their children, it doesn't say how many wives they had, each one, and it doesn't say how many children each one had. Okay, so you could probably almost triple, if not quadruple, that number of 24. Okay, in the 8 vessels the size of a tree with flocks and herds, okay, and whatever other animals that they wanted to bring. You remember? Okay, so that's where they landed in the promised land, guys. So what did they find when they got to the promised land? Let's look into that, right? So they get to the promised land. Let's go to chapter 9, okay? Chapter 9, verse 18 and 19. Let's hit up chapter 9. Let's go to 18 and 19. And also all manners of cattle, of oxen and cows. Okay, so the context here is they're landing in the promised land, and now they're in chapter 9. They're telling you what they found when they got there. Okay, so if you read this in context, you'll understand this. All right. So we're going to skip over. We're in the book of Ether, chapter 9, verse 18. Okay, we're going to go 18 and 19. And also all manners of cattle and oxen and cows, and of sheep, and of swine, and of goats, and also many other kinds of animals, which were useful for the food of man. Okay, you know, I got a couple of issues with the kind of animals they're talking about, because we are talking about the promised land in America, okay? We'll get into where exactly they landed here in a few minutes, but nonetheless, let's continue to chapter 19 and let's really get some questions going. And they also had horses and asses, and there were elephants, and there was kuralams and cumams, all of which were useful unto man, and more especially the elephants and kurlams and kumams. Apostate congregation, do I really need to tell you what the issue is with these 2 passages right here? We're in America, the Americas. First of all, if you Google where is the promised land, and you specifically have to put LDS in whatever it is that you're doing, because if you Google Promised Land, Jericho comes up out of the Bible. Okay. Well, we're talking the Americas here. Where's the Promised Land in America, right? Where did they land? So the Promised Land, if you Google this, a whole bunch of LDS sites will come up, and you will literally get any answer from North America or South America, the very tip of South America, all the way to Canada, everywhere in between, and the Caribbean islands as possibilities for where they landed, because they don't really know. Okay, nobody knows. Okay, and if you watch the 2 Million Man Jaredite Army video, I go into that about evidences and things of that, right? All right, guys, let's move on here. So we got a side note that I do want to say though. 4 million years ago, okay, there actually were horses in the Americas, right? 100% legit. There was horses in America, but they died out though, right? They died out. So about 10,000 years ago is when they estimate that these horses died out, right? And you can Google this, you can look it up for yourself. Hernan Cortez, okay, in 1519, he was the one that reintroduced horses to America. Before that, there were no horses in America, right? Until the time frame that I just said, right? So for all of that time, 10,000 years or whatever plus, all the way up until 1519, okay, this book takes place, the Book of Mormon takes place between 600 BC and 400 AD, okay? So we're about 1,100 years early, which again goes into my claim, fantastic claims require fantastic evidence, right? So the Book of Mormon literally in so many ways rewrites history, okay? Literally rewrites history. And another thing I'd like to say is if you look at the Book of Mormon, above each chapter on the app and in a lot of the books, not every book has this, but there's a paragraph above each chapter. Well, that little paragraph is italicized, and usually it will give you a date down there, right? It'll say, whatever BC or AD. The Book of Ether is literally the only book in the Book of Mormon that does not have those dates. You can call that coincidence. I don't know. I'm just reading the book. That's all. Okay, so that I found that pretty interesting. So one thing also that I'd like to say is the Jaredites. Okay, so there's two Jareds. Okay, when they come to the Promised Land, there's Jared that's organizing everything, all of that kind of stuff. His name is Jared. When they get to the Promised Land, he dies. Okay. Omar begats Jared, right? So Omer, O-M-E-R, okay? There's a Omer and an Emer, okay? I want to be clear, it's Omer, O-M-E-R, begats Jared, okay? So now we have a new Jared, and they become the Jaredites of the Americas, okay? I want to be very clear and specific about that because I've been getting a lot of comments about, I'm wrong on the Jaredites. Okay, well, if you read the book, you will know, okay, that there's two Jareds, one in the old land and one in the new land, okay? And so what we talked about today is in the Promised Land, we got horses, elephants, kurlams, and Kumams. Apostate congregation, what is a Kurlam and a Kumam? These are animals in the Book of Mormon. It literally, they're literal animals in the Book of Mormon. I just read you the passages. Okay. Nowhere in world history has there ever been any kind of an animal or a bird or a bee, an insect, a snake, a reptile, literally nothing with these names. Kurlams and Kumams, okay? The Native Americans don't talk about it. The Mayans don't talk about it. The Canadians don't talk, whatever tribes were in Canada at the time, they don't talk about it. There's no oral traditions. There's no written records. There's literally nothing. These are complete fabricated words right here. Okay. So where did they land? They landed, the name of the places that they landed, Desolation is in the north and Bountiful is in the south. Okay. That's what they named the lands. Okay. And we can actually go, you can go to Alma 22 and read verses 29 to 30. Okay, Alma 22, 29 to 30. You can Google that and see this is the level of confusion that they give you. Now it does say in the Book of Ether that they call the name of the land Desolation, and they called it another name. I can't remember off the top of my head. They called it another name. But my point here is, if you Google that, you have to put LDS in there. Like I said before, it will come up as Jericho. Okay, you've got to put LDS in there. And whatever you Google, it brings up Alma. Well, Alma is actually before the Book of Ether. You see what's going on here? So there's a level of confusion. That if you Google it, Alma comes up. But in the Book of Ether, it actually does say where they came and or where they landed. And it's called Desolation and another name. I can't remember the other name off the top of my head, but nonetheless. So what are we talking about here? They went to somewhere in Israel, Egypt, somewhere in that part of the world, okay? They crossed the sea in 8 vessels shaped like a tree with flocks, herds, food, water, women, children, and men that are shaped like a tree. They got stones that are clear, one on each end that the hand of God touched to make them bright. So when they're submerged underwater, they can see, right? They have light. Then they cross the sea. They describe what they saw, right? They got Kurlams and Kumams, okay? And they landed in a place called Desolation. And elephants, mind you, in the Americas, okay? World history, there has never been elephants in the Americas. Just mic drop, there's never been elephants in the Americas, okay? And Hernan Cortez reintroduced horses in 1519. Okay, everybody, that's my presentation. That's what we got. Next time, oh, I do want to say, well, I'll hold off on that because I don't want to say it yet. But we got some good stuff coming out. We're going to continue on with Ether. Yeah, and we're going to get into a lot of stuff. And so thank you guys for watching. Thank you for taking your time to watch this channel, like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I do frequently put stuff in my community pages. Click on, go to the community pages. I do have some very interesting things on there that you might be interested in, which we are going to get into later on. Here probably in a week or two, we're going to start talking about the things that are actually on the community page. I'm doing a little bit more research before I make a video about it, but you'll get an idea if you go to the community page of what I'm talking about here. All right, guys, read your Book of Mormons. This is an interactive channel, so I do not put up things on the screen for a purpose. I want you guys to look at this. I want you to investigate it yourself. Okay, that's the whole point of this channel. Because while you're investigating, you're going to find other stuff. And a lot of times to find this stuff, you have to go outside of the Mormon information pool. That's very key, okay? If you decide to comment on any of my videos, make sure you put links to whatever argument that you're making, okay? I do not want LDS links. I will just right off the get-go delete those, because that is propaganda, and we don't deal in propaganda on this channel. We read directly from the book. What does the text say? I don't care what anybody has written about. I don't care what anybody says. Okay, we're going to go straight to the text. What does the text say? Because all of those books that everybody has written, they write them from the text. So let's go to the source. Let's go right to the source and see, what does the source say? Let's go to the text. What does the text say? Okay, that's the point of this channel. All right, everybody, stay tuned for the next video, and you guys have a nice day, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, Apostate Congregation.